If you thought 2025 shook things up for dealers, 2026 is going to rewrite the playbook. You remember that movie where all the Teslas are crashing into one another?
I still haven't seen it. It still scares me to go and watch it.
That movie made me reconsider how much technology we are putting into all aspects of their life. Credit's tightening, insurance keeps climbing, and OEMs are reinventing what selling a car even means.
Through 2026, especially as OEMs are saying, are we spending too much money on incentives? Are we spending too much money on these vehicles that are sitting on lots?
But here's the thing. Some dealers are going to come out ahead.
But the customer wanted what the customer wanted. And if that dealer wasn't going to get it, they lost a sale.
Today, we're breaking down what's coming next and how to get ahead of it. And trust me, one of these predictions will make you rethink your 2026 strategy. So, Phillip, some people would like to think that we're experts in this space, and we tend to make predictions, right?
Yeah.
So last year, I think we made a couple of predictions, and a lot of them did come true, but we're back at it again with some 2026 predictions because, this year is about to be crazy, right?
Yeah.
So as we look into 2026, I feel like we should probably talk about a couple of things that are going to happen. One of them being EVs, because they've been a big topic of discussion for us on this show. Either you love them or you hate them. What is your prediction when it comes to the EVs when we look at 2026? Do you think that they're going to still be relevant, important?
So they are absolutely going to be relevant and important. And one of the cool things about the EV manufacturers, because of all of the changes that have happened in what our clean energy mandates are, requirements are, there have been shifts. One of the big shifts is going back towards hybrids. So instead of going full electric and having everything in America be electrified by, I think it was like 2030 something.
2030, yeah.
Right? Now it's like, okay, we don't have to have those same EPA requirements. So we can have more vehicles that are still ICE and electric battery powered. Kind of like my Pacifica minivan. So that's going to be a shift that you're going to see. But also affordability is a really big issue that we're facing. So in 2026,
It ain't going away.
right, we're going to roll out a lot more mid-size EVs. So they have to be more affordable. Think you had your R1T, right? Really nice Rivian. But those things can get upwards of $100,000. So Rivian started producing the R1S, which is going to be a smaller mid-size SUV that more families can afford. So those will be big shifts that you'll see from all of the manufacturers coming out.
Can we stay on that a little bit longer when we talk about these mid-size EVs? I think the Lucid is doing isn't it the Lucid Gravity? That's their SUV version of their car. And I don't know if that's like mid-size or like a big one. I think it's a mid-size.
Yeah, I mean, Lucid's going to be an interesting one because a lot of their cars get really up there in price. Like the Air Sapphire Air, one of these two. There's Airs and there's Sapphires in it, but it's like super fast, but really incredibly expensive for a sedan. So they're going to have to pivot to stay relevant and make sure that people can afford them.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like if I'm a buyer in 2026, already my money's strapped, government things, like there's a lot going on in the world. It's hard to know where your next money is going to come in from. So if I'm thinking about a vehicle, am I going to be able to afford an EV?
Think about it, like the price of beef went up 14.7% this year.
I noticed my bacon's more expensive.
Right? All of that's more expensive.
Yeah.
The price of these rare minerals they use to produce these electric vehicles are going to go up as well.
Because it's harder to get.
Exactly.
Or because of the tariffs and the taxes and things. It's all connected.
It's
I feel
all
like
connected.
It's all connected. Let's touch on the hybrids again. Do you feel like because a hybrid is kind of in the middle, you're not fully, like if you're like in those domestic states where I'm going to pick on the Midwest, right? Where they are really heavy into their domestics, the GM world and all these things, Stellantis, that's where they can kind of dip their toe in the pool of like feeling like, okay, I'm doing something for the economy and I'm helping with the hybrid, but I'm not fully committing to the EV. Do you feel like that is why the hybrid's not going to be on the rise? Because you're not fully saying I'm an EV driver?
Yeah, you're not locked into anything. When you have a hybrid, plug-in or regular, you can say, okay, I'm helping the environment a little bit or a lot of it, depending on what kind of hybrid you have. You can say, okay, I don't have to have range anxiety. I can go as far as I want. And all of these manufacturers are figuring out different ways to produce a vehicle that fits all the people in America.
Ooh.
Right? So you have like—
Tell me more.
So there used to be a Ram Rev, which was going to come out fully electric pickup truck from Stellantis. They scrapped it after the EPA requirements changed, and they went with a Ram Charger, which is going to be a giant battery pack. I think it's like 90-something kilowatt hours, powered by a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, but it's only a generator. So it's only a range-extending engine. It's not going to actually power the wheels. it will charge the battery and you'll get up to 700 miles on a tank of gas.
This is a pickup truck.
It's a pickup
truck. Is that meant
truck.
to compete with like the Lightning that Ford created?
Right.
Or?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. The Lightning was great because it could tow all this extra stuff and it looked like a pickup truck and it was really cool, but the range drops a lot when you tow. You can't drive it super far and it's incredibly heavy. So how do you combat that and then get people who, like you're saying, traditionally want to buy a domestic vehicle and make it feel like a truck, which I'm one of those people, right? Ram. And how do you get them to get that buy-in, but also feel good about what they're doing for the environment? This Ram charger is going to be a good step in that direction. And then if you use that platform, you can make it last for every other vehicle that you produce as well. So think you have a Wagoneer, you could put it into that platform. You have a minivan, you could put it into that platform. If it works, it's very easy to move it through all these different products. So these vehicle manufacturers have to figure out, how do we strike the balance, especially in 2026 with prices going up and needing to have everybody focused on their budget? How do we strike a balance that makes everybody feel good, it's affordable, and it gets them to go a long range while still being electric?
Do you think the OEMs are going to start doing a lot more marketing around the hybrids? Because historically, in my experience, just watching a lot of, not TV, I watch a lot of YouTube, but a lot of the OTT ads that I see are not geared towards hybrid cars. And historically, like when I think of hybrid, I think of a Prius, which is outdated because, they've really come a long way since that. But the only time that I'm ever in a hybrid is in a rental car or in an Uber ride, because I know that they have to drive a lot, so it helps them. But like you have a hybrid, correct?
Yes.
Chrysler Pacifica hybrid?
Pacifica plug-in hybrid.
Okay. Can you maybe talk real quick before we get into some of these other predictions about why this hybrid was a good choice for you? And like, what's the difference between that plug-in versus the non? Because I'm like confused by that.
Right. So they have two different motors in them.
Okay.
Every hybrid will have an ICE or internal combustion engine as well as a battery-powered electric motor. And that electric motor will power your front wheels, your rear wheels, whatever. And then when it switches over to being an ICE engine, that gas-burning engine will then power.
Is that only at red lights when you're idling? Is that when it becomes...
Kind of. When you're at a red light, traditionally you're running on battery power. As your engine runs, it regens the battery.
Okay.
So think about it like if I said that Ram had 90 kilowatt hours in its battery, your hybrid battery may have like 8 kilowatt hours, right? It's a much smaller battery, but it's constantly recharging and discharging. And how mine will work is if I'm at a stoplight, I'm fully electric and I get 32 miles of plug-in range because I have a slightly bigger battery. I drive around the city locally. My wife drives around locally. We don't usually have to go to gas. So a tank of gas will last us 2 months in our hybrid.
2 months on day-to-day pickups, drop-offs, kids, groceries, 2 months.
2 months. And it's 14-gallon tank, so it's pretty small.
That's a huge selling point that I feel like the OEMs could be leveraging in 2026. And maybe I'm just living under a rock, but I'm not hearing a lot of these. I hear a lot of the push for the EV, but not the hybrid. It's like the hybrid's still sexy too, right?
The hybrid is sexy. That red Pacifica has got 5% tint, so you can't see up in my window. And
are you rolling on some rims or?
It's got 19s on it.
Okay. Are they black?
So it's not bad. They're not black. They're silver.
Well, you do have
we
family.
can't do everything, but it is. We call her Rhonda Burgundy because she is a red minivan. We plug it in every night. It'll charge the full battery pack overnight. So what you find in a lot of these EVs, unless you have a 220 volt outlet, 220 or 240, I'm not an electrician. I shock myself a lot. When you plug it in, right, that will charge your EV overnight. But if you have a standard plug, like a 110, you're charging for like 40 hours to fill up your Tesla, right? For our battery, on that 110, we charge that battery overnight, and really it's all we need. Those 32 miles get us around town, run the air conditioning, run the heat, all of that stuff.
So basically what you're telling me is, before we move into the next prediction, because we got a couple of things to cover here, is that I should look into plug-in hybrids versus just the traditional hybrid that the car does it for you.
I would say yes, if you have access to a charging, yes. Absolutely. You have your RAV4, your CRV hybrids, which are going to have a battery that's constantly regen from the engine and regen from braking. So as you brake, it pushes power back into the battery.
Right.
But that turns on and off throughout the day as you're driving it. It's a little bit different than the plug-in hybrid, where you have a sustained amount of time that you're going to be running on just battery power.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads us into our next prediction that I feel that we could probably educate the audience about. Because as we've been talking, these cars have gotten a lot more advanced, would you say? They're basically like computers on wheels, right? And they're super, super futuristic. It's like the Internet of Things, right? Like it's essentially like you walk into your car and it's like an iPad. So with that, do you have any other predictions about like how is that going to be taken to the next level in 2026? Like, do we envision, you remember that movie where all the Teslas are crashing into one another?
Oh, yeah.
It was the Obamas produced it.
I still haven't seen it. It still scares me to go and watch it.
Oh, you
because
should.
I'm like,
it was real good until the very end. But what I will say is that movie made me reconsider how much technology we are putting into all aspects of their life. Example, my high-rise condo, fob controlled. Could that be hacked? Clearly. Like your car, super electric. Could it be hacked? Yes. So like, it just makes me wonder, well, let me get your thoughts. You know how I feel.
So one of the big things from 2025 was that Jaguar got hacked and they had to shut down production. It was a huge thing, right? So it's very easy for people to get in and change how things function. Now, there's a lot of encryption that goes into all of these different softwares in your vehicles, so it should be protected. But one thing that dealers have to do in 2026 is they have to understand how to train the consumer on that different technology and their staff, right? And you think about it like, my in-laws just purchased a vehicle, as a Mercedes, that has so much tech that they're like, we don't really love it. Like, it's almost too much.
It was too much.
And when they brought it over to my house,
Which one was it?
They got a GLS
450?
450.
Oh, is that the one with the 3 rows?
Yes.
My parents have that too.
Right? And so it's like, okay, but they're in a generation where they might have had like a 70s Charger where it's just a stick shift and a steering wheel and an 8-track player. And now they're coming all the way forwards to what we have today. But they're frustrated because they're like, the person at the dealership, and this is a Mercedes dealership.
They're supposed to give you white glove.
Right. They're supposed to give you all that training, have a product expert, et cetera. They didn't have it. So when they brought it over to my house, you know, I geek out on this stuff. And I was like, here's how it works. Let's get you logged in. Let's put in all this stuff. I mean, it's asking for crazy amounts of information.
It wants
to make
all their
it easier
data
for her, or for her and him. Now, the thing that is really cool about this, and fortunately, my mother-in-law is totally fine, but she was in an accident in a Mercedes, okay?
Prior to this?
They got the other Mercedes, which they still have, but then she had a little bit older Mercedes, all the same technology. But when she got into the accident, because of the technology, it sensed that the deceleration was too intense. It automatically called the police. By the time that she regained her composure, there was somebody talking to her, telling her the police were on their way. And she was like, obviously discombobulated. But you think about that. If you had gotten into a crash in that 70s Charger, ain't nobody coming for you. Nobody's going to know. So the technology helps.
Wow.
But we have to teach people how to use it. So for 2026, what do dealers have to do? To differentiate themselves, they have to be able to train their staff to effectively communicate with a customer, okay? And that strikes a balance of removing all of the high-level technology jargon, delivering the value to the customer, and getting them bought into the features and aspects that they need to use every day. A perfect for instance of this is, I have an iPhone, okay? I got a 16 Pro Max, whatever it is, you know? When you think about that and you think about your camera, you go in and you turn on the camera and you're filming. And now we're like looking at stuff and we're filming. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was here and I talked to the people at our studio, they showed me that I was filming completely incorrect. I needed to go to 4K 60 and change the settings on I had no idea. So if that's my level of ignorance with something like that, imagine how people who are 1 generation, 2 generations older, okay? Yeah, boomers. They're getting into the stuff that's more advanced than that and they don't know what to use it. So dealers have to focus on training those customers, making sure that they have every piece of equipment they need for their day-to-day, and then giving them a little bit extra to feel dangerous, right? You don't want to give them all the features because then they'll be like, I don't want this car. So you have to understand that balance with every customer that walks into your showroom.
Honestly, with you saying that, it made me think about the OEMs and these dealership groups and these dealers. Like, they need to have better materials because I think a lot of them are still relying on old school methods to train their staffs about the vehicles that are coming in. And I'm sure the OEM has modules and things that they force you to watch and get through. And if it's like compliance or other things that we've been through in our lives, we just know that like you get through it and you're not fully engulfed in it.
Oh.
So to your point, like if your mom didn't know it, maybe you were out of town or something, what if she went to that dealership? Would they have helped her?
They would try, but depending on the salesperson that you get, depending on their level of interest, you're not bringing in any money necessarily, right? So do they see the value in you? And this is completely dealership specific per dealers. You're going to have a lot of dealers who want to do the right thing and say, okay, this customer is going to be a returning person who I will see value in helping, et cetera. So let me put some time into it. But every now and again, like I ran into a salesperson at an event I was at this weekend. He was driving a vehicle. He was driving it recklessly. When we asked him to slow down, we asked him to change his approach. He did not care.
Oh, this is during your test drive with him, or?
No, we were at a Alzheimer's event.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yep,
So he wasn't paying attention. If that's the salesperson who's giving you your rundown of your vehicle, you're not going to have a great experience. So all of the people, you have to take it seriously. They have to treat everybody as if it was their mom. Like, that's the biggest piece of advice for 2026. When we go into these vehicles, treat them as if they're your family, because once that person finds that loyalty to you, they will come back and purchase another car from you. And with this technology, it's very easy to differentiate yourself and say, oh, Phillip helped me understand exactly how this Mercedes functioned, exactly how this Ram functioned, exactly what my Tesla does. I want to go back and talk to him about my next vehicle.
Totally. I think that that's a really, really important point. To kind of switch gears a little bit back into a prediction that I'm sure that you're passionate about. I know I am. When we think about the supply chain and the inventory that dealers are allocated, I remember during COVID, it's like there wasn't any cars. Now there's an abundance of cars. Now we have too many cars on the lots. Day supplies are high, but now we have supply chain issues and we don't know which vehicles are going to be able to come. And there's just a lot going on. And what is your prediction when it comes to that? Because that's going to ultimately determine which vehicles the dealerships are pushing to get off their lots. And a lot of times the customers don't want what's being pushed on them, which is a constant issue. Like, that customer that comes in, it's like, I want this specific color with these features. And then the dealer's like, but I got these ones. So what are we going to do with? But the customer doesn't understand that. They think, like, oh, just order me another one. But they don't understand, like, the dealer owns these cars. They're on their floor plan, yada, yada, yada. So, like, what are your thoughts when it comes to that supply chain and the reallocation issues?
So there's like just-in-time shipping that happens for most grocery stores. So they'll have it where we stock exactly what we need for this day.
Yeah, restaurants do that too a lot of times. They run out of food and you're out of luck.
So I think you're going to see these OEMs pushing to that kind of thought process. We'll have a majority of our vehicles that are on order, and then we'll have some that are sitting in the showroom. And some of the EV manufacturers already do this, where it's like, okay, you come in, you order your vehicle, and then we'll deliver it to you when the time is right. So the mindset is going to shift slowly, but through 2026, especially as OEMs are saying, are we spending too much money on incentives? Are we spending too much money on these vehicles that are sitting on lots? We have to get all of these vehicles moved before we can roll out our new inventory. I think there's going to be a nice hybrid shift towards doing a little bit of both as they move forwards to think about, how do I get it so I always have exactly the cars that I need to sell within this given month, and the rest are a fast follow to get out here. Okay. So 2026 is going to see more of that thinking, and the manufacturers who adapt to that quickly are going to win, because you're right. I'm a consumer who wants a faster buying experience. I want exactly what I want because I've researched it online. I've gone through whatever digital retailing tool that OEM might have or provide.
Yep.
And when I get to the dealership, that's what I'm looking for. And if you tell me, oh, you wanted red, but I actually am going to get blue, I'm going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
And people are feeling this. Like, I go to a lot of events, it seems like, but I was at a different event and I met this lady.
You're a man you're popular.
I know. I'm like all over the place. She's like, oh, what do you do? I said, I'm in automotive and I understand this stuff. And she's like, let me tell you about this time that I was mad because they didn't want to sell me this Kia. So I went and bought a Jeep. Like, I'm like, how did you transition?
Was it a price point problem or?
She wanted a red car.
That was it.
That's it.
They could have sold her anything.
And she walked in and she's like, yeah, I want this Kia in red. And they're like, well, we'll have to order that, but we have this one. And she's like, can you get me the red one? And they're like, we have this one. And she was like, okay, I'm leaving. So she left and went to bought a Jeep Wrangler in red. Like,
couldn't be completely, that was like a polar opposite type of whatever. Okay, continue.
But the customer wanted what the customer wanted. And if that dealer wasn't going to get it, they lost a sale. So even if you had said, okay, I have this one on the lot, but let me order you the one that you want, in 2 months, I've got a sale, right? And I'm holding your deposit, I've got a sale. Instead, some Jeep dealer was not expecting to sell this red Jeep that was sitting on their lot for a long amount of time, got that customer.
That's wild. I think that kind of goes back to a different prediction that I have, where a lot of times dealers will try to put a customer into a box and make them follow a process that they want them to follow when it comes to buying. And this is a perfect example of a customer who just wanted a color. And if you could satisfy that, they'd be a sale.
Exactly.
But because they said they wanted to. So anyways, pivoting a little bit to something else, I want to wrap this up with your bold prediction for 2026 and make sure you ask me mine, because I have one in mind that I want to get into.
Well, why don't we go with yours first so I can think about mine? I like it. You go first with yours. I want to hear yours.
Okay. Maybe controversial, but it's already happening. Think about what Hyundai did partnering with Amazon. Think about the Carvanas, the CarMaxes, the disruptors. Love that term, the disruptors. My bold prediction for 2026 is more franchise dealerships and dealership groups are going to adopt the model of you can come in, you can test drive the car, you can feel it, you can touch it, but you order it and it's going to come and be delivered to your door. I'm really hoping, and this is kind of like a hope and a finger cross prediction, that like more dealers will be open to a model that is more like the disruptors in the space instead of forcing consumers to go through the stereotypical car buying experience where you got to come in, you got to sit there for 4 hours, you got to test drive it, you have to check all the boxes. I need a plug and play model where it's like, I want this car, I've already done my research, it needs to show up on my door in a week. And I'm hoping that more dealerships adopt that in 2026 because let's be honest, we're only getting the market for car buying is only getting younger. The older people, the boomers and such, and the Gen X?
Gen X, Gen Z, Gen A, the whole alphabet.
The Gen X and the boomers, they've been adapting to us, to the younger generations. So the dealers need to raise their level up to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, after the millennial, the Gen Z is the second to largest, I think, group of people that we have in the world. So they are accustomed to TikTok buying and quick, easy, So like cater to that. And it's only going to get younger with the Gen Alpha. It's just going to keep. So that's my prediction. I hope that dealers make that shift. If not, they're not going to be in business. And I'm seeing it happen today. Dealers who are not adopting these new tendencies, they're complaining that they're not getting the sales that they need, but it's because they are not adopting and they're not coming around. So they need to just be open-minded. That's my bold prediction.
Mine's a little bit crazier, and I hope it comes true. So I follow a lot of like TikTok accounts, Instagram accounts, et cetera, that do auto reviews.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of Chinese vehicles.
Oh, they're so cool.
That are cool, and
really
they have better
cool
technology. They're cheaper, et cetera.
They're so cheap.
I think that the generation you were talking about, is it Z that's after millennials?
Z and Alpha.
Z and Alpha. They're going to push to have more of these foreign created vehicles in the States because their technology is ahead of ours. So I think you start to see these imports and possibly turn into another foreign manufacturer on US soil that is having these crazy cool vehicles, right? I think that's what's going to happen in 2026. I think we'll see our first like Chinese-based vehicle dealer selling cars in America.
Well, boom. You heard it first. If you liked these predictions and what we talked about today, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe. You know you want to hear another episode. We're giving you those predictions and stay tuned for the next one. Bye.